Anthropic filing to go public is the most important signal you've gotten all year. Not because of the valuation, because of what happens to every API you depend on when the company behind it has to answer to public shareholders. Let me explain why most people are celebrating this news when they should be quietly auditing their infrastructure. The news dropped June 1st. Anthropic confirmed it filed confidential IPO paperwork with the SEC less than a week after a $65 billion raise pushed its valuation to roughly $965 billion. And here's the detail everyone missed. They beat OpenAI to the filing. After months of speculation about which lab would go public first, Anthropic blinked first. The timing matters. Anthropic has spent the last 2 years positioning itself as the safe choice for enterprise, landing serious customers across healthcare, legal, finance, and government. Claude is now genuinely mission-critical for a lot of companies. Not a side experiment, not a prototype, the actual production backbone. And that's exactly why the IPO is a yellow flag, not a green one. Here's argument one. Public companies optimize for different things than private ones. Right now, Anthropic can price Claude's API at whatever rate keeps developers happy and builds ecosystem loyalty. They've been aggressive. The pricing on Haiku especially has been almost shockingly good. Once they're public, every quarter there's a call where analysts ask about gross margins and API monetization strategy. The pressure to extract more revenue per token doesn't vanish. It builds. Gradually, then suddenly. If you've built workflows that depend on high-volume Claude calls at current prices, you're sitting on an assumption that may not hold 12 months from now. Not because Anthropic is greedy, because that's how public company incentives work. Argument two. Compliance requirements are about to get significantly heavier. Enterprise customers love the idea of a publicly traded AI vendor. It signals stability, auditability, financial transparency. But what comes with that is a compliance layer that changes how the API actually behaves. Rate limits tighten to protect SLAs for bigger accounts. Terms of service get lawyered into something harder to navigate. Content policies get updated to satisfy enterprise compliance teams, not individual builders. I've watched this happen with every major developer platform that went public or got acquired by a public company. The product doesn't disappear. It just gets harder to use at the edges, which is exactly where most interesting AI applications live. If your Claude-powered product does anything even slightly unusual, anything the compliance team would need to put in a deck for a board meeting, you want to stress test that now. Not after the IPO lands and the company is answering to analysts every quarter. Argument three, and this is the one I'd actually act on. The window to lock in favorable terms is closing. Right now, you can negotiate with Anthropic as a private company that wants your business and cares about ecosystem growth. Post-IPO, pricing and contract structures tend to standardize. Discounts that exist today because a sales rep has flexibility get replaced by a published rate card that everyone pays. Early access programs for new capabilities get tiered by spend level. If you're doing meaningful volume on Claude's API, or if you're planning to build something serious on it in the next year, this is the moment to have an actual conversation with their sales team. Not to lock in a rate forever, but to understand what kind of relationship you can build before the structure changes. Now for the contrarian angle, because everyone else is writing headlines about what a milestone this is for AI. The IPO is actually a sign that Claude is becoming a commodity. That sounds harsh, but think about it. You go public when the story's big enough, the revenue is real enough, and the market is ready to value you. All of those things are true for Anthropic now, but they were also true for Twilio in 2016, for Cloudflare in 2019, for every infrastructure company that eventually went from "this is cutting edge" to "this is just the pipe." Claude going into public market territory means it's maturing into infrastructure. That's not bad. Infrastructure is valuable, but it changes the relationship you should have with it. You don't innovate on infrastructure. You build on top of it, you treat it like a reliable utility, and you think very carefully about how exposed you are if the price or the behavior changes. The people who are going to win in this environment aren't the ones most excited about Anthropic's IPO. They're the ones building abstraction layers so they're not brittle to any single model provider. Which brings me to how I'd actually think about the workflow problem here. If you're on Claude today and you haven't thought about model routing, now is the time. Not because Claude is going anywhere, but because resilient businesses don't have single points of failure in their AI stack. You want to be able to shift volume to another model if pricing moves or if a policy update breaks something you depend on. The way I'd approach this is to make sure every AI call in my product goes through a workflow layer I control, not directly hardwired to one provider's API. Make is the tool I'd use to build that glue layer. It's a visual automation builder, and it lets you connect your AI models, your data sources, and your business logic in a way where you can swap one piece without rebuilding everything. I use it to keep my own automations portable. If you want to check it out, the link I use is make.com in register.pc years news iTech, and I may earn a small commission if you sign up through that, just being straight with you. The point isn't the tool. The point is the architecture decision. Build like you might need to move, because post-IPO, you probably will. Let me be direct about what I think the next 12 months look like for anyone building seriously on Claude. The product will get better. Anthropic's team is genuinely excellent, and going public doesn't change that. But the business relationship will shift. There will be pricing changes, probably in the direction of higher costs for high-volume use cases. There will be new compliance requirements. There will be tiered access to new capabilities based on your account size. None of that is catastrophic, but all of it rewards the people who planned for it over the people who assumed the current setup was permanent. Audit your Claude dependencies now. Understand which of your workflows would break or get expensive if the API cost doubled. Build the abstraction layer that gives you options. Have the conversation with Anthropic's sales team while they still have room to negotiate. The companies that treat this IPO as a wake-up call will be better positioned than the ones that treat it as a celebration. My honest one-sentence take: Anthropic going public is the moment enterprise AI stops being experimental and starts being infrastructure, and you should build your stack accordingly. Here's the question I want you to sit with. If Claude's API cost went up 3x tomorrow, how many of your products would break, and do you actually know the answer?